A year and a half after the government of national unity was formed, top leaders huddled behind closed doors to do what exactly? The Madlanga Commission also continues with new details about Katiso Molefe's arrest. Let's unpack it all. Stick around to find out why it matters. Spread the fire. Welcome back to the Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh experience, or SMWX. Thank you so much for a wonderful October month where we did over 13 million views, fam. This is something sensational. I was looking the other day, like the Joe Rogan podcast did something like 35 million. So, hey, we're not far off some massive global podcasts, all because of you, your support, and us keeping it moving around here. Well, so much has happened over the weekend and today. I want to delve into two stories. The first is this GNU secret retreat that is emerging and evolving and is just weird. And then what we heard at the Madlanga Commission today as well in terms of Katiso Molefe and his arrest. Now, I just want you to first take a look at this picture of GNU leaders who gathered today. And I want you to look at the faces of the most ineffectual coalition you can imagine. For me, this coalition has been nothing short of a spectacular anticlimax. And really, I've never seen a coalition that had so much hype and has delivered so little for the people of South Africa. Like, people of South Africa came in with hope on this coalition. We were told this would be the coalition to bring stability and prosperity. And where are we? Well, apparently we are at the point where a year and a half later, they've woken up, they're awake, and they went on a retreat and didn't invite the media to the retreat. So they decided, in typical GNU fashion, not to tell the public anything about what they're doing, but to let us find out after the fact. So a year and a half later, we hear, oh, there's a retreat. Okay, what's happening at this retreat? Well, the communication is bizarre because we're not told about it in advance, and then it leaks, which clearly means that either one of the politicians leaked it or they wanted it to leak from the presidency. Who knows? But we get told there's this leak, probably to make it look like the president is finally galvanizing his government together. But the problem is, if you're 1.5 years late, there's no galvanizing happening. It's just embarrassment, to be honest. So we got reporting from Lizega Tandwa at Sunday Times, among others, who said there was no agenda for this meeting. I'd like to see if the government would confirm or deny that. We certainly didn't hear anything. Why don't the people of the country get to know what the GNU is talking about? How come we voted you in? Now we don't even get to see the agenda for your meeting, let alone the outcomes. I had an interesting chat with a friend of the show, Tara Ruiz, who pointed out that the GNU hasn't even had like so much as a press conference. Like, just the leaders sitting there telling us what they're going to do and what their priorities are. We have to like figure it out by reading the tea leaves and getting leaks from secret meetings. It's a mess, fam. It's really high time that we just accept that this GNU of ours is a mess. It's a big mess. Then it emerges today, Amanda Khoza of News 24, among others, reporting, no. There was a point the GNU met to adopt the medium-term development plan for 2024 to 29. So let me get this straight. The government met in 2025, at the end of 2025, to adopt a plan that runs from 2024 to 2029. How do you adopt a plan for what was supposed to start last year? That's like me coming on and saying, hey, I'd like to announce the SMWX plan for 2024 to 2029 now. Something just doesn't add up about this idea that they met to adopt the medium-term development plan, which is now the statements we've got from the presidency to try and rework what this meeting was really about. Because we've heard that there's this medium development plan. It's already been published. So, and earlier this year in February, Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation said Cabinet had already approved the plan, and the plan was then published in March. So why did it take 8 or 9 months for the GNU to have a retreat to adopt a plan that Cabinet has already adopted? Nah, fam. We're being played here. Like, the GNU is just hoping that you're not looking anymore. That's it. Just don't look. Keep looking at Mkwanazi, because there's nothing happening in this GNU. And it's really time we started asking hard questions like, what happened to promises about unemployment? What happened to promises about growth? What happened to promises about the cost of living? What happened to promises about poverty? Do I even need to start talking about corruption? I mean, we've got 2 parallel commissions showing us that corruption isn't going anywhere, let alone crime. And I sit back and I ask you on the other side, like, has your life dramatically improved over the last 16 months? Or has it stagnated or got worse? I'll leave it up to you to decide. Look, this GNU had a signature proposal. It said it was going to have a national dialogue. That was going to be the big thing it did. Remember? Where is the national... Like, the national dialogue is not even being spoken about anymore. There's no coalition document, fam, except the statement of intent that isn't signed by all the parties at once. It's between the ANC and all the other parties. There is no decision-making structure, apart from some strange mechanism where parties come together, they send it to this clearinghouse, and then the clearinghouse sends it to the leaders of political parties. So then why didn't the leaders of political parties just meet in the first... It just... It's I don't know, man. And I've never seen a government that has so little pressure on it as well. Like, how do you expect the government to deliver if you don't put pressure on the government? You think the government's going to deliver out of the kindness of its heart? If the government feels like there is no pressure to improve lives, then it's going to just keep stagnating. And to be honest, it's on all of the members of the GNU at this point. It's not just an ANC problem. It's a DA problem. It's a Rise Mzansi problem. It's a Good problem. It's an IFP problem. It's a PAC problem. It's an Al Jamaa problem. If you voted for these parties, well, your vote contributed to stagnation at this point. And it's all well and good for GNU partners to say, well, if it wasn't us, the worst would be bad. That's not your job to tell us about the worst alternative. Your job is to deliver the better reality that you promised. So no GNU. No to the secret retreat. No to this announcement of adopting some plan that should have been done a year ago. No to the stagnation that's happening right now. Now, we also need to bear in mind that KZN is currently in a very unstable place. The National Freedom Party, which holds the balance of power, and sided with the ANC, IFP, and DA to create that so-called government of provincial unity. I feel like this term of unity has been so sullied, because a government of national unity is when you have like 90% of the electorate, like a full united government. In KZN, it's just like one vote. They have a one-vote majority and they call it a government of unity. It's a coalition. So that coalition is held together by the NFP vote. If the NFP switches, then that coalition crumbles. And recently the NFP has come out to say they're not happy with the state of things in KZN. They haven't fully agreed to switch, But if they do, that coalition which heralded this GNU era could be under serious threat. I'm not convinced leaders gathered this weekend to just sip pina coladas and adopt some outdated plan. I really want to know what prompted, out of the blue, these leaders to get together in secret. Now, a number of people have suggested, and at this point all we have is speculation, but speculation from some very interesting sources, and I'll give you those sources. It was the Sunday Times report that President Ramaphosa is considering leaving office early next year. So it's a Sunday Times report. News 24, political analyst on SMWX Lukhona Mguni, and our analyst Tara Ruiz. Now, these are 4 different perspectives, getting information from different places, all suggesting that the president is considering his position. And so I do wonder whether this meeting was some kind of last gasp attempt. Was it the president saying, hey, we need to just smooth things over until I do exit, and we need to find an exit strategy? Was this the opposition parties saying, look, if you don't meet now, we're going to leave? We don't know, because there was no press conference. So at this point, it's a black box. But we do really need to ask ourselves, why would the GNU suddenly meet like 18 months into its life? One final thing on this. I remember we constantly got this refrain last year that it was amazing that this coalition came together, because in other countries it takes a long time, sometimes 6 months for a coalition to form. And at the time it kind of made sense, because it felt like the coalition had a very short time frame. At least to elect a president, the constitution says it's 2 weeks. But there's really no time frame after the president is elected to create a government. So I never really fell for this idea that South Africa has this time pressure to form a government. We have time pressure to elect a president, but not necessarily to form a coalition. But now, it's been nearly a year and a half, and we still don't really have a coalition with serious policies, serious priorities, and some kind of document that South Africans can look at and say, oh, okay, these parties have come together to set the political direction. It's almost as if the state is wagging the dog. The tail of the state is wagging the dog of politics. Usually you would have a political party or coalition come together, the parties come together and say, these are the policies we agree on. And then the state is tasked with implementing those policies in real life. Now we have a state implementing based on like what's been happening before, and then the parties come and say, yeah, what the state said is what we agree to. Where's the political direction? It's nowhere to be found. So I'm afraid, I hate to say I told you so, fam, but this GNU it's in disarray, and it's surviving on PR fumes at this point. And part of the reason, secondly, is because the Mkhwanazi revelations have completely stolen the limelight from this government, but have also just shown how deep the rot over which this government is now presiding really goes. Remember, Senzo Mchunu is the GNU Minister of Police. All the parties came together, and their agreement is what has led us to the cabinet we now have. So let's take a look at what we heard today, because the revelations just keep getting deeper and deeper, and the crisis is getting more and more serious for the ANC and for the GNU. So today we delved again into the arrest of Katiso Molefe. By the way, fam, just side note, why are we spending so much time on these arrests? Like, I completely appreciate the need to delve deep, but this is like the 3rd week that we are focusing on the same arrest. I really hope the Madlanga Commission knows what it's doing by spending so much time just on this Katiso Molefe question. Maybe they do. Maybe it's the core that unravels everything. But my goodness, I'd like to move on to Brown Mokhotsi. I'd like to move on to even some more senior police officers, because it feels like we're getting more and more junior as we go now. So today we had a number of interventions. We had largely people looking into why the Hawks conducted this operation to disrupt the arrest at Katiso Molefe, this alleged criminal kingpin's home in Sandhurst. Remember, the political killings task team was arresting him. Halfway through the arrest, they're seizing material and evidence, and the police come to ask the other branch of the police, what are you guys doing here? Are you impersonating the police? So today we were figuring out, why did the Hawks come to check on the political killings task team? And to be honest, the story and the picture is not getting any clearer the more voices we hear. There are a lot of disagreements within the Hawks themselves. The political killings task team remains rock solid and consistent. They were there to arrest Katiso Molefe, who they believed had a hand in the murder of Armand Swart over a Transnet tender. While they were there, the Hawks come, and various people from the Hawks have said, it wasn't me, it was that person. And that person says, no, it wasn't me, I didn't know, I was just following an order from that person. And then that person says, oh, wow, well, I got called from some other civilian. And it's just not adding up. Why would the Hawks be there? We don't have a solid answer to that question. Now, today I want to play you a clip from the first witness from who we heard. And this witness was effectively suggesting that it wouldn't be appropriate for the Hawks to conduct the operation in the way that they did. And he was irked by being instructed to be part of this operation. Have a look.
If somebody is impersonating the police or they are impersonating the Hawks, who is best placed to investigate whether that is true or not? Does it have to be the Tom's team, or it can be any police officer or even any other division of the Hawks? Because I understood from the evidence that we had on Thursday that the Hawks have an office in Johannesburg. It's just not the Tom's team.
Correct. So any police officer can confirm that. Because to add on that, commissioners, remember, whether we are from the Hawks or we are from the dog unit, we are carrying the same appointment card. The appointment card is the same. How you gonna tell if this person is from the Hawks? How you gonna tell if this person is from the dog unit? I'm just making an example. Our appointment card is the same.
And last issue, the Hawks Johannesburg office, how far is it, or where is it? If it's a sensitive issue, you don't have to give me the exact details. I understood from your evidence that you were in Springs, and that's 60 kilometers from Sandhurst. And Captain Kruger was in Pretoria North, which is also very far. And the other team was in Mogale City, which is also very far. The Hawks team nearest to Sandhurst, where are they?
Joburg and Germiston as well.
Central Johannesburg.
Not at the central, because at let me remember correctly. The old Johannesburg Stock Exchange.
Yes.
Yeah. Not at the police station.
Is it in Newtown? Yes. I think we know where it is. The shiny, next
because
to the
remember,
shiny
TPCI got some divisions. There are others who are sitting at the building of old commercial crime next to Joburg High Court. There are others who are sitting there.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So their warrant officer, Sabelo Nkosi, who was part of this operation reluctantly, or actually no, he said he decided not even to be a part of it eventually, but was called upon by the Hawks as one of the more junior officers to the people we've heard from, called upon by his superiors to leave an operation in the Northwest that was clearly very important and go to Kati Molefe's house to see if police were being impersonated. And he was like, but why? I'm not even close by. And this is why he was saying, like, there are officers closer to Sandhurst. Why not just send those people? Now, later we heard a Major General Mboto, who is a divisional commissioner within the Hawks. So this is a relatively high-ranking person. And again, the commission was trying to get from him, okay, why had you sent people like Warrant Officer Sabelo Nkosi? Last week, I believe there was a certain Kruger. Why were they sent? Was it you who sent them? Was it General Libya, who was the head of the Hawks there? We were trying to establish the chain of command. Let's take a look at what Major General Mboto said in response to this idea that, well, some of these Hawks members were being called from already existing operations and were actually quite far from the scene.
Contact the subs to do this and discounted them, or it just never occurred to you from the outset, you knew this was going to be a DPCI operation?
The strength of TOM's commissioners is not necessarily of the members that they have, but the network that they have. So I couldn't foresee that the patrol van could get there quicker than the people that work with TOMs. For example, TOMs have got security companies that they have. Even if Mokoena decided that he's going to send the Joburg Metro, which is part of them, or the Gauteng traffic, which is part of the team, to scan the area for us, it would have sufficed. So when I said to Mokoena, send people, I meant in his network. So the police, to be honest, commissioners, was never, the patrol van was never part of my thinking from the word go. I never had the police van as part of those that I wanted deployed from the word go.
Well, you've also told us that you know that they have private cars, unmarked cars, which are not patrolled vans. The SEPs, did I understand you? Did
No,
I hear you properly?
I was talking my team that I sent there.
Okay.
The team that I sent there, I sent them with unmarked cars. Yes, I was referring to those. That the team that went there, they had unmarked cars to respond with.
No, but you don't know who was sent there because you gave the instruction to Brigadier Mokoena. So why do you talk as if you know that the team that was sent there had unmarked cars?
Remember, Commissioner, I mentioned that he told me that he sent Kruger.
Yes.
And I said Kruger was the right choice in my thinking because it's from, at least I thought it was from the East Rand.
So there you go. That's a sense of the skepticism with which the Hawks version is being treated, because there are different people saying different things and no one is taking accountability for why this team was sent. You've got Major General Mboto saying, well, I would send this team because I didn't want them to have marked cars. You've then got Nkosi saying, yeah, but I was already part of a different operation and I'm not sure why I went. You remember last week there was some very close questioning of Brigadier Mokoena. So in the chain of command, it would go Mboto and then Mokoena and then some of these figures that are below Mokoena. So Mokoena was sending WhatsApps, he was sending car registrations, he created or there was a WhatsApp group created, he was messaging people individually, and then it later came out in testimony that he was also part of the WhatsApp group, which he initially denied. So something is awry in this Hawks version. We just don't know where it's awry. Is it awry in terms of the people who at every level of the chain of command knew what they were doing? Or was this a commandment that came from the top and only the person at the top really knew the true motive of disrupting this arrest? Obviously, this raises questions about how we need to hear from General Libya himself, how he came to give the instruction down the chain of command. He's the former Hawks head. He's since retired. So who called him? How did he figure out that there was this thing at Katiso Molefe's house? And why didn't he verify that it was, in fact, a legitimate police operation? We still don't know that, and it would be quite nice to get that soon. So we then also had a certain Mr. Raftopoulos, Gauteng traffic police chief, who sent a helicopter to Katiso Molefe's house as part of this Hawks disruption operation. But again, he said, I had no idea, wasn't me. Someone just asked me to send a helicopter and I obliged, I helped. So I didn't know whose house it was. I just got told, hey, looks like people are impersonating the police. Let me send a helicopter. It's quite something. It's quite something to send a helicopter to a house. But there we go, fam. That's what we're hearing from the Hawks right now. I don't know what else to tell you. Further, this week, we have Parliament setting up tomorrow, I believe. I think we're going to have Minister Feroz Kachalia. Time of recording, it hasn't come out fully as far as I'm aware, but it's either him or one of the deputy ministers, and we're going to hear from them this week. So it'll be interesting to see what some of these incumbents think about the decision to disband and whether they will verify some of their predecessors' actions or whether they will criticize those actions. So it's going to be fascinating. We've got you locked with live streams, analysis, more fascinating interviews coming this week. I won't share all of them. My lips are sealed. But a cool one to look out for is actually the Google South Africa country director. That was a really interesting interview just from a different perspective where we were talking about the impact of an institution like Google on South Africa, and especially YouTube, the way it's growing to challenge mainstream corporate journalism and what some of the pitfalls and opportunities are there. So have a look at that. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, help us reach, let's get to 400K subscribers by the end of the year. I think that's a fitting way for us to cap off this year. Not so, fam. I hope you're good. I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope you are surviving despite the travails of what it means to live in this wonderful country called South Africa. You know what the crazy thing about South Africa is, though? The beauty outweighs the tragedy. There's so much tragedy, but that means there's even more beauty. So stick to the beauty, and let's hope we can overcome the tragedy. See you on the next one, fam. Aye.